So I thought I'd kick this review demo off with a little sound example of what this thing can do. That was from a MIDI file I found from Roundabout from Yes, and I remember back when I was a little kid, my dad would go pick up my mom quite often from the hospital after her shift, and riding around in his Honda Prelude, listening to Yes cassettes. Those cassettes were a happy accident. I remember he bought this big box set, and he was all pleased, thinking it was a CD box set for a hell of a steal. And he got home and opened it up and found out it was full of cassettes. But at least we had some music to go around with in the car. Anyways, enough about my past. What are we here to talk about tonight? It is the RYM2612 VST, which is, if you're not familiar, the YM2612 was the sound chip in the Sega Genesis, and it's an FM sound chip. So this is a virtual implementation or a virtual copy of that chip that you can use in any of your DAWs or whatnot. Anywho, let's go ahead and open another project here. I'm going to grab move from Yes to Queen, and I'm going to use it as an example for how this thing actually works and what it can do. Alright, now we don't need to save this. We're good to go. Okay, cool. Let's see if we can find Mr. Freddie Mercury somewhere buried in this file of notes. What do we got? Strings, bell, melody. I'm going to guess it's the melody. So let's go ahead and kick that off here. Alright, so we'll enable this sucker with a default patch, and we'll see what it sounds like. Yeah, it's Mr. Mercury in MIDI form. Okay, so what are we working with here? At the very base, you can see we got an LFO section here. And if you don't know what an LFO is, it's a low frequency operator or an automatic knob turner in not very technical terms. And we have 4 different operators. So if you're not familiar with FM synthesis, you have operators and you have algorithms. And if you're familiar with other types of synthesis, an operator is pretty much the same thing as an oscillator in a other synthesizer. But these 4 different operators can be aligned on this device 8 different ways via this algorithm section here. And you can see just switching algorithms, the sound changes quite drastically. And why that is with FM synthesis, these operators are either carriers or modulators. Now, carriers are kind of what you hear. In this case, I believe 2, 3, and 4 are the carriers that you're actually hearing through the output. And 1 is modulating them all. So depending on how you set up the algorithm and how you set up all those operators and how you adjust those operators, you can get many different sounds. Now, FM typically is used for bass sounds, bells, and things like that nature, but it can be used for a whole bunch of different stuff, and we'll dig into some of that tonight. So beyond this LFO area, this 1, 2, 3, and 4 are where your operators are. And each operator has its own envelope, which can be adjusted by these ADSR knobs here. Beyond that, you can adjust the frequency, and that's where most of your sound construction will come in. I find with FM, and I'm no expert on FM, so if you want to learn FM, definitely check out a different video. But at least for the very basics, by adjusting the frequency, in this case of this, the multipliers, you can really dial in different sounds. So we'll kind of get a silly one here that sounds to our niche, what we like. Stop gabbing. And then here's where we can actually control the loudness of each operator. Now, beyond the operators, the LFO, you can enable it here to, this is for, I believe, the phase and amplitude. You might notice nothing's really happening. That will turn it on for the amplitude. And I gotta actually dial in some phase. And I actually probably have to dial in some amplitude on the LFO itself. You can see how that kind of affects the sound. One other thing to know is for operator 1, you can add feedback onto it. And that's one way to get a drum sound, is if you crank the operator 1 feedback in the volume, you get that kind of static sound, but you can mold that into kind of a drum sound. I'm noticing most of the drum sounds use that. And that's about it. You know, there's a nice manual that goes through all this stuff, but that's kind of your 5-minute walkthrough of how it works, at least as much as I know what it works. And one thing I find with VSTs, I don't play around with that too much. That's one thing I'd rather do on a hardware instrument. And if you want a hardware version of this, there is something called the Mega FM, which has 2 real, I believe, RYM2612 chips into it. But it's, you know, I think around $600, $800, where this thing cost me $20 Canadian. I see it on sale for around $20 to $30, $40. I think full price is $75, but I think it's one of those things that like, oh, it's $75, but there's always a special on it. So if there isn't a special, I just wait a little bit till there is one. For $20, I'm pretty happy with it. One thing I want to show you before we dive into it a bit more is if you do want a free version, there is another VST out there that you know, if you don't have $20 to spend, or you're okay with it. There is one called Jenny, and you can see it. It'll be a little bit different, but it's similar. Let's go ahead and turn it on here. One annoying thing about it is you actually have to set the MIDI channel for each one, so I gotta set it to 14 here. It should line up to what I'm looking at, except it's not, which isn't handy. So that's one thing. It depends how this has been configured. Where are you? Alright, MIDI, there we go. And I won't go through how it works, but you can see you have your same 4 operators. The one thing I like nice about this one is you can actually get a visual representation of the envelope as you adjust the dials. I find that helps me see the visual aspect of the envelopes, actually dial in more, or the RYM2612. It's a little bit more difficult for me to imagine what I'm actually doing when I'm turning those knobs. It's nice to see the actual envelope adjust before your eyes as you tweak them around. This isn't a review for Jenny though, but I just wanted to bring it up there because this is a free option that you can try yourself if you're just looking for a quick way to get some Sega Genesis sounds. Yeah, that's that. Alright. One thing that is very cool about, and this is one of the major selling features of the RYM2612, is if you get its sister app, I think it's RYMcast. What you can do with this bad boy is you can go in here and you can download VGM files, which are you know, Sega Genesis video game files. I'm not sure what they are, but they're basically musical files from the Sega Genesis. Find your old favorite songs. Go ahead and push the pause button. And what is cool, so let's go back to Mr. Freddie Mercury's MIDI file here and make sure it's working. Okay. We can drag in those actual patches from the actual soundtracks of video games right into our RYM2612. Oh god. Ah! Make it stop. Okay, that was but yeah, so you that's one of the nice features, especially with a VST and with all of the video game tracks out there. Yeah, I like to do sound design, but not in a VST, so I can go and download a whole bunch of video game tracks listen to them, find cool sounds that are being done on the original YM2612 chip, drop them into the RYM2612, and I can have a whole collection of Sega sounds, which you can see I've done for I've took out a bunch of the Streets of Rage ones. Let's hopefully that awful drone sound is gone. So you can get a whole collection of presets from old Sega Genesis video games, which is pretty fun. All right. I'm not sure how much more to go into it, really. I was going to do some demos, so what I thought was fun was, I've been doing a lot of, lately I've been having fun with video game MIDI tracks, using other VSTs to redo them just as a silly thing to do, stuck in this pandemic. But one thing I actually had fun was kind of a reversal, was finding some classical songs or songs I liked and trying to Sega Genesis them with this VST. I used the Lindrum free VST as well to get some drum sounds. The one thing I didn't love the drum sounds. I don't think they're bad per se. I don't think I got enough good ones. And I think the problem with a lot of these MIDI files I was grabbing is the drum track was all in one MIDI track, and which is okay if it's a simple drum loop, but if you have something of a number of drum parts, it works a lot better of a dedicated drum VST than kind of put just one RYM2612 drum sound on it. It kind of gets muddled up. But anyways, let's go ahead and play a couple of those. If you have any more questions about the this thing itself, the manual is great, but I'm also happy to answer anything in the comments. I'm not an FM expert, so I don't want to go too much in depth with how to craft up specific FM sounds. But basically, the quick tips is play around with the frequency till you kind of get there for each of the parts. Play around with the envelope to modify, make it a little silly, and then go around and click some algorithms, practice some knobs, twist in some knobs. But for this thing, I think the real sales factor is you don't have to do that. You can just grab the VGM files with the RYMcast app and play it from there. Anyways, enough gabbing. Let's go ahead and try some. I'll show you some of the things I had fun with over the last couple of nights here. After the Super Bowl, I wanted to give a try with doing a weekend track, and I found this cover for Blinding Lights. I know everyone's sick of it, but I thought it was kind of fun. Some effects over top of some of this. It's not just a raw VST. I'm throwing a delay on some of them and a chorus. Okay, that's interesting. What else I have fun with? This old Offspring song, "Gone Away." I remember in my teenage angst years when I lost my first dog. This is one of the songs I like to listen to in my Discman, feeling sorry for myself. Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo kind of sound thing. What else did we play around here? This one wasn't perfect, but I was trying to do some metal, and what better than Die Young? Maybe not the best song to play in the middle of a global pandemic, but I didn't love this part at the beginning. I had a hard time dialing that in, and then some of these guitar sounds at the beginning here are a little rough. It needs a bit more work to get there. Nice hard. That does not sound good. But when it kicks in, it's pretty fun. God, love that part though. Pretty fun too. All right, one more. What next? I don't know. This is, pictures of you is a little too long. So is this. So you get the idea, right? And it's just fun. So there you go. That's about what I got for you tonight. So definitely check it out if you're looking for playing around with some Sega sounds, or you're bored at home and nothing to do. I think it's what's the price on this bad boy right now? Let me check out.